If you have any comment or question after the adhan finishes, before I proceed, I just want to show you a process quickly. I don't want to take your time, Sheikh Namira, who has bothered me all the time anyway. Oh, something is missing here. I don't know what's happening. This is in the workshop. Now I'll just give you exactly what we started already in the workshop. I told you to do something. Okay, I'll come back to this. But this is the environment we're talking about. Usually when there is a workshop, now we're talking about which workshop here? Present eloquently Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to the world. Now what do we do in this workshop? Of course, I've already sent you all what you need. The ingredients for the dish. Because you're supposed to be cooking something. During the workshop, people act like chef. They cook something. And one of the most important things, we want to make sure, you remember what I said at the beginning? We want people to be original, be yourself, spontaneous, cook with it. So we want you to cook your own dishes. You know, your appetizer, your main dish, laham biryani, and of course you end up with ras malai, you know. We want the same thing to happen in your communication. And I mean it, by the way. This is the way we do it. So people start cooking. They turn into chef. So this is the environment. There is self-directed people, there is, you know, self-directed learning. There is mentoring and coaching each other. And they are developing their communities of commitment. Also, they are learning and reflecting at the same time, you know, and evaluating. And whatever they are doing, they hook it in a project that they are supposed to be doing. And what's the project? This is where we give them the 8 week and say, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be cooking up these messages. You're supposed to do exactly what you did. You're supposed to do a PowerPoint. You're supposed to do a pamphlet. We leave it for the people, but we tell them you have 8 weeks to apply exactly what we did in the workshop. Now, this is what I call it, we give them a recipe. And you'll see the recipe. I started already this is number one of the recipe. The cross-cultural communication, we call it cross-cultural communication recipe, where you start cooking your ras malai. I love ras malai, by the way. I hope you will have something somewhere, you know. Yeah, yesterday they brought me ras malai, because the more I talked about it in my workshops all over the world, I have a Pakistani friend of mine or brother or son of mine whom I trained, one of the leaders, yesterday he invited us to in a very beautiful place on the mountain. What's the name? Huh? Babar, I know the Babar, but the place that they invited. Manal. Then after we finished, we came back, he gave me 2 bags of ras malai. Because I talk too much about ras malai, you know. So this is where, usually this is the way we do it. We want people to think in this way. You have to think in this way. Because at the end of the day, you have a house of Islam. True or not? There is a front door, there is a back door. And you want to invite the guest to this house. And if you want to invite the guest da'wah, which is basically invitation, and if you want to invite them to your house, you have to cook them delicious meals. So you have to learn how to cook these delicious meals, you know? And you have to start with the appetizer, and you have to give them this beautiful biryani of yours, and you end up with the ras malai, and you have to do that. And then you invite them to the house, and you serve that. Now, all of this is the art of communication, how you can, this gets into the art of communication. I'll show you the types of communication later on. So this is exactly, so these are this is like what we gave you, you know, the barcode that something like that. These are like the ingredients that you have, that you will be cooking your what? Your topic that you have already chosen. Now everyone has got the topics, صح or not? You've already written something to that non-Muslim. True? So this is page number 1. This is the topic that will be the deciding factor of what you're going to be choosing when you go visit the exhibit, when you watch the YouTubes, you are supposed to collect more information to support this topic of yours. Am I clear? So the process goes on and on and on till you support that topic and you turn it into a very beautiful product. Then at the end of the workshop, you stand in front of us and you communicate it so beautifully and effectively. Now, the how, there are criteria that we give you. Okay? But of course, we want you to become, when you stand, original, spontaneous, quick-witted, you know how to lead the situation, and the person in front of you, you study his background, you know you have to become clever enough to make sure you craft this message or you cook this message in a way that when he tastes that message, he relishes it, he enjoys it, and he comes back to you again. Clear? That's the concept that we're applying in this workshop. Am I clear? Anybody has got a question? Huh? Anybody has got Ras Malai? Oh, sorry, I don't know. Anyway, so these are the ingredients. Some of the ingredients that we have. And by the way, we have a lot of ingredients that you would never dream of. Beautiful. Lots of work. Lots of millions of riyal were put in these ingredients that we're passing you. This is the recipe. It's called Kids Communication and Learning Letter. Many people are looking at me now. What do you mean kid? Kid? Kids communication? Why do you call it kids communication and learning letter? Is it just for children? Is this what I'm talking about? No. Kid is my name, basically. Khalid Ibrahim Dosari. Okay, so it got stuck with me, and unfortunately many people are using it all over the world. Who put this kid? My wife. She got me stuck into this. So now it has become like a brand for me with this. There are two models I have. Very powerful model if you want to teach your kids at home, if you wanted to teach in universities, if you want to teach the language, and the other model if you want to teach communication and leadership. So we use this in the workshop. So this is the model. Now, this is exactly what you've done now. What did you do now? You wrote a message to the non-Muslim telling them who your prophet is. And, you know, of course, you have to say it nicely about it. So you write your message. Then after that, you discuss this message with but you are supposed to be in teams, on round table, or rectangular, whatever. So you're supposed to discuss now your message with your team. We could do it if you want. I just want to show the process because I know time is not, I'm not giving workshop today. So after that, this is number one. You chose your topic to address the non-Muslim. But of course, you need to know all the parameters around this person. You know, where, who, how you're going to write. Then you will discuss it with your team. Then after that, you will go to the YouTube. There is a YouTube you have, and you will watch this YouTube, beautiful YouTube, about who's Prophet Muhammad, who's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You listen, then you take some information from that YouTube. Now, remember, you have one sheet, then there is another sheet after the discussion. You write down. You have to write down. You have to capture the ideas. Number three, you watch the YouTube. Again, you get some ideas that will support your topic in the preparation for the finale, for your final presentation. Then after that, we tell you, okay, go. Visit. Usually in a workshop that is face-to-face, we have exhibits, 2 exhibits or 3 exhibits posted. But if it's not face-to-face online, you have all the links for the exhibit. You're supposed to choose from those posters something also that will, one idea or 2 posters that will support also your topics. Yes, go ahead.
I think we should be practical while we are choosing the topic. We should be practical about that topic.
Okay.
So we can prove that topic by doing the thing practically, so the non-Muslim people can attract practically.
Yes, but who decides this? Who does this? You do it.
Yes.
This is the beauty of it, because this is, again, notice here, all of this you do it, I don't do it. This is the strength of this, developing communities of commitment to present Islam. And at the same time, taking all these treasures that you have inside you, I'm getting it out. Not only that, reflecting it with your team, discussing it with your team, it will strengthen it. It will point out certain points for you that you were not aware of. and that's the coaching strength. You coach each other and you learn from each other. You know, so the strength of this EIECC methodology is that you are the leader. We're just creating an environment for you. We provide you with all the content that you can never dream of, you know, and we bring it to you home and you just do this. And we say, take it, this methodology, use it. You might have your own club, cross-cultural communication club, EIECC with here, as co-curricular activities. And by the way, you can use it for even Arabic language or Do language, the same methodology. You can use it for French language if you want. But of course, we are concentrating on English because English is so widespread in our area, and it is causing us problems, you know. So we want to make sure that those people are also using English for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have to be proud. We have to be proud of our Islamic identity. We have to be proud, we have to present it without diluting it and to satisfy other people. They will never be satisfied. The Quran said it. The Quran said it so categorically, they will never be satisfied. No matter how much you stoop down to them, they will never be satisfied. So our job is to stand the ground and say exactly who we are, where we stand, what our Islam is, without diluting it or, you know, cut corners so that you satisfy them. That's the worst part. As a Muslim, this is the worst part if you try to satisfy. No, you have to say this is where we stand. Without getting into their what you have this, you have this. No, this is where we stand. This is our culture. You respect it? Welcome. And the culture itself, the Islamic culture by default, it's attractive, you know. And the mannerism of the Muslims, I mean, the way the hospitality, the generosity, you know, that's in itself. Even if you don't talk about Islam, you just let that talk. This is more. Be an Islamic exhibit on the move in your characters, and your character, the traits and characteristics. That's so powerful. We have lots of things that we sometimes belittle. They don't have it. You go to the West and you can just see it. You can see the difference when they come to the Arab world. You see what's happening in the World Cup now. It's just a big hit. You know, I was there. I trained about 70 to 80 people, ladies and men. And, you know, then I just monitored them from distance. You could see they came up with beautiful, natural things for the Muslim. Generosity, opening their houses, making sure they tell them about what Islam is. Simple things. You don't need dua to bring them all over just to make sure that they know. No. The Qatari, mashallah, they fascinated us. You know, mashallah, and of course the people who attended, Qataris and other than Qataris, of course. But mashallah, we felt very good when I went there. Good, so they did simple things, but they were very attractive, subhanAllah. These are natural things that any Muslim has, you know. May Allah bless you. Okay, I think, then of course, they're supposed to write up. You do a write-up. Then, after discussing with the members again, you do a write-up. This is the first sketch now for you, for your finale presentation. Then, this is where you start the methodology, the more structured now one. Now what you are supposed to go, you access a site, there are many sites, that has got articles and pamphlets. And you choose one article or pamphlet, again, that is related to your topic. But now, of course, the reading is more. The challenge is more, because you're supposed to read it now. This is where we can. Look at this. Now, of course, I'll just jump into this. This is where you start. We've already done this. This is the first thing you did. Okay. This is, so you choose a pamphlet. You choose the pamphlet. And now you have to read a lot here. But of course, the pamphlet is basically, you're talking about 3 pages, 4 pages. Now I'm getting you into Islamic English more expressions, more words. Because I want you to get deeper and deeper so that you become spontaneous, quick-witted, original. Okay, this is day 1, of course. Okay, so you read the article or the pamphlet silently with the group. Everybody's reading in the team. So you're supposed to read this pamphlet. While you are reading this pamphlet, you're supposed to do what? Always you're supposed to seek assistance, helping each other. If you don't know the word, you ask. If you don't know how to pronounce it, you ask each other. and the table has got a facilitator. And the job of the facilitator is to help me as the main facilitator in making sure that people do the tasks. Do the tasks, you know. So always seek assistance from each other. Now what is supposed to be doing? Now you go and you summarize this article or this pamphlet. You take the most important information again that will add some beef to your topic. You see how it's progressing? Then you'll take this information and you'll add this. And after that we ask you again to read your pamphlet, but this time you don't read it in a silent way. This time you have to read it loudly as if you are speaking. The whole pamphlet. And you put your two fingers in your ears and you listen to yourself. So you have internal communication and you reflect over the pamphlet. Am I taking a long time? How much time do I have? I just need to give me a signal. How much time do I have? I can take my time till I die. Okay, thank you very much. So this is a very important, we call it inner communication. Because what we want you to do is to take the pamphlet and read the whole pamphlet in a conversational way while putting your two fingers in your ears and speaking loudly, making sure your tongue is what is pronouncing the words, your ears hear the words, your inside reflect over the words more and more while you are uttering them, while you are conversing, imagining that you are standing or sitting in front of people and you are explaining to them this. And this is one of the most important, by the way, steps. You know, it has a lot of benefits. I cannot now cover all the benefits, but there are a lot of benefits. You know, so this is a very powerful also. So after you finish this, then you go to something called. Now we have a lot of information. صح? How much information do you have now? Topic, what you wrote at the beginning. Then you discussed. Then you went to the YouTube, got more information. Then you went to the exhibit, the links that you have, and there are cards also. Got more information. You see how much information you're gathering now. Then after that, you read the pamphlet. You summarize. You took some information that will feed into what you've written. Remember, this is very important. Why? Because it will provide you with more expressions, more English, Islamic English. Okay? So this will go. Now you'll go to reading loudly. Now you're speaking. The same pamphlet, the whole pamphlet. You are reading it. You are not reading it. You are talking it. You know, imagining that you are sitting with somebody and you're conversing with them, talking with them loudly. And you are really reflecting while putting your two fingers in your ears. This is called internal communication, which is very important for any sheikh. Many of the sheikh do it, but they are not aware of it. أفلا يتفكرون? Retreat. You know, when you have a khutbah, for example, or a speech, or you want to give, you reflect. You need to be on your own. You reflect over it. This is called internal communication. You know, and I'll explain this later on about the types of communication. So this is, now you start revising all this information. And you are cleaning up all this information. And you are organizing all this information. Most importantly, now this information should not be somebody else's information. It should be your own. This is why we say personalize it, revise it, in a way that will fit your person, your shakhs, your uniqueness. This is why you become original. So you take this information, you synthesize it, you order it, reorder it in a way that fits the way you love to present it. Am I clear? Are we learning something today? You think my presence here is adding some value? Alhamdulillah. I'm happy. Thanks to Numira. Okay, then notice, after you do all this information, again you go to visit the exhibit, By visiting the exhibits, again, you are looking, scanning, skimming, but most importantly, you are scanning. You are still, you know, because you know your topic. So you'll go to exhibit again. You know, you have a lot of exhibits. You have about 7, but all about Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you go to the links, and you look for more information. This is called the scanning. And of course, in the process, you will be reading English, Islamic English. You'll be looking at Islamic English. You'll be communicating with Islamic English. You'll see how the images of the posters are portrayed, how you can become. So this tells you, if you want to present Islam, you have to make sure you care about the how, not just about the content. This is why we have the exhibit. This is why we say, be an Islamic exhibit on the move. When we talk about be an Islamic exhibit, we're not just talking about words. We're talking about words. We're talking about look, the way you act, your mannerism, your hospitality. So you have to present Islam in the best way, not just to satisfy them, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to do that. You know, this is why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has used the word بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. And of course, you can have more information. You can go visit if you want to get more information. You have cards. This is left usually for the participant, if you want to have more information. Now, after that, you merge all these thoughts together, as we said. Then, by that time, you already have got what? All the information in your mind. You have already organized the information. You already have somebody in your mind that you want to present this information to. So what we tell you, close your eyes. This is called now, we call this internal rehearsal. There is internal rehearsal. After that will come external rehearsal. So you have internal practice and you have external practice. Now we go to the internal practice where you have a lot of internal communication. So we tell the people now, live a scenario, close your eyes. We usually dim the lights if it is very, and say close your eyes and go through your presentation or your communication with that non-Muslim, presenting what you've prepared for him or for them. And remember, you need to know the place, you need to know the where and the how and the background of this person. And you start going through a scenario, okay, as much as possible. That. So you try to remember what you've done, because remember, after that you're gonna stand up and talk without anything in your hands. And that's the difficult part, you know? So you go through this internally, this scenario, then we ask you many questions after we finish. Then after that say, okay, now let's go to the other one. What is the other one? Of course, again, you can visit videos. Yeah. Okay. The other one is this. Now, khalas, you've done a lot of work. صح? You've done your rehearsal internal. Now it is external practice. So you stand in front of your team, okay? And the facilitator is supposed to organize who's going to start first. So you stand in front of your team as if they are what? As if they are non-Muslims. Because remember, you are presenting this to non-Muslim. The same thing can be done with Muslim also, by the way. If you have some Islamic tafsir, aqidah, hadith, whatever, you could still do the same process. But our concentration mostly on that side, the cross-culture with the non-Muslim. So you stand in front of your team and you start presenting. Now, when you are presenting, you have to be aware of, I'll show you. We're almost finished. So when you stand in front of people, you are supposed to be aware of certain things. Usually we show this earlier, so that people will be aware of this. Now, what are these certain things? I'll come to this. Now, remember, we didn't cover communication, what communication is all about. So what is communication that you need to be aware of? I cannot see that. This is terrible. Anyway, We talked about cross-cultural communication. Unfortunately, the screen is not clear. We talked about cross-cultural communication recipe. We already explained this kitchen concept, chef concept. Now, we talked about this. I will jump. Now, we talked about all of them. Okay, what are the communication types that we need to be aware of? Very easy. Come on. Yeah. Okay, so you have oral communication, verbal communication. You have verbal communication, and you have non-verbal communication. So you have verbal communication, and you have non-verbal communication. Now, which one is more powerful? Why? What's your proof? Huh? Yeah.
Your practicality is the proof
Okay.
of your teaching.
Okay. Okay. And we have also the verbal communication. We have the non-verbal communication, and we have the how communication. They call it para-communication. Now, you know what the percentage is for the effect of the non-verbal communication is? The percentage, according to statistics, 53 something. It varies, 53, 54. You know the percentage of the word, the content? This is why I said it's important to apply what it 7% the effect in the world. According to all the statistics, 7%. Imagine 7%. And the non-verbal, so too many things non-verbal you can talk about. The non-verbal is what? 50 something. And the how is 30 something. The how to say it. You know, being aggressive, being assertive, being the modulation, how you vary your voice, how you vary your tone up, 30 something, percent. So you could see the content is what? 7% the effect on the other people. Now, this is why when we have the concept of exhibit is very important for us. This is why a lot of money in many of these Islamic organizations that produce these beautiful gems and jewels of content, they always concentrate on a lot of, YouTubes and exhibits. And not only that, imagine the amount of information that has been put in that small poster that you have. You have about over 70 or 60 or more than that. This is the most important words. How many people work to make that poster, to condense it and condense it and condense it and summarize it to give you the gist of what you're supposed to do. There is a lot of work that went through this. And there is a lot of work that went through the images to send you also to make it so powerful. This is why having exhibit without even people is so powerful and it's very important to have. Having like cross-cultural communication exhibit, just people pass by and using all these exhibit that we use or, now we're passing them all over the world, So the concept, this is why non-verbal is very, very powerful and the how is very, very powerful. Now, the last one in the type of communication, I've already talked, the internal communication. Many people neglect the internal communication. You can never, quote me for that, you can never become a powerful speaker or good communicator externally unless you are internally you are very strong. You master your internal communication. So the more you master your internal communication, the more you can master your external communication. Now I'm talking with you. How much control I have over my internal communication? A lot. Because I can talk with you, stand, I speak. How did I get to that far? Because I read in a way that I communicate a lot with myself inside. I communicate a lot internally. And this has made me better in external communication. So you have to have a lot of practice. You need to master your internal communication. Self-talk. You need to control that self-talk. And the more you control your self-talk, and of course you turn it into a positive self-talk, the more your communication will be better. And many of those people who fail in their communication because they have a lot of negative self-talk. They stifle themselves from inside. So you need to control this. You need to make it strong. your internal communication, so you become a better external communicator. So why do we do all of this process? Because we want to get to this communication peaks, so that I become original, spontaneous, and quick-witted. At the end of the day, I want to be original. I want to talk. If I talk to 1,000, it is exactly as if I'm talking to the sheikh, only two people. If I reach that, that means I've reached the peak. If I stand in the front of 1,000, there is going to be anxiety for sure, but I know how to control it. I have made it work for me as a fuel to become a better person, not against me, so that I get black out, you know? So this is something that I think okay. And of course you have the 7 C's. You heard about the 7 C's. Whatever you want to present, whatever you want to write, when you start organizing your, what we have done, you need to remember the 7 C's. What are the 7 C's? Be clear, be concrete, be concise, be correct, be coherent, be complete, and be courteous, polite. Always remember this, whether you are talking or whether you are writing. These 7 C's are very important. Okay? I'll give you this. All of this, by the way, I don't have any. We don't have something called disjunct. What do you call it? Disjunct? The capitalistic? What do they call it? Copyright. I don't believe in it myself. Okay, so many people believe in it. I don't believe in it. Whatever I've learned it from somebody else, so I pass it to somebody else. This is what our deen is telling us. Convey about me, even if it is one verse. Yani, the thing that I have, are they much more worthier than the verse of the Quran? A'udhu billah. And we're supposed to convey the verse of the Quran. My stuff, which is nothing in comparison to the verses of the Quran, I put it in a copyright, in a capitalistic mentality, junk that has come from the West. I don't believe in that junk. Okay. And of course you have the 4 S's, and I'll stop here. I think the last thing that you are supposed to do is to put, I think there is something, before I end up here. I'm finishing. When you stand in front of each other, you need to remember the communication. I forgot the communication criteria. I didn't show you the communication criteria. Okay, anyway, you'll have to ask about feedback. So you stand in front of your team, you present, and your team is supposed to give you feedback as against the communication criteria that I did not show you, about 30 communication criteria. Anyway, then after that, of course, you're supposed to be listening to each other. Then all the teams, every team should be standing and presenting like the car. Okay? So all the teams are supposed to be standing in front of other teams, and they are supposed to be presenting. And of course, we should have a general feedback session. Okay? What are the communication criteria? I didn't show you the communication criteria. They are basically the breakdown for the verbal, non-verbal, and the how. Okay? So that's basically what we do. And whatever we do, we tell people to document what you've done. Don't lose it. You need to have progress report on a weekly basis. You read it the same way. You progress, you put it, you document it, so that you can achieve by the, let me say, by the end of this 8th week, you can see that you have produced a lot of stuff. Of course, we explain more about the 8 weeks, you know. That's basically it, you know. Maybe just so that you will not get angry at me, show you the communication criteria quickly, because I forgot to show this to you. These are the communication criteria that you are supposed to evaluate each other. I'll just go quickly. This is look at them here. Communication criteria. I will move quickly. So when you present, you're supposed to be aware of these communication criteria. What are they? The first one, create a favorable atmosphere, appetizer, icebreaker, choose an interesting subject, know your subject very well, introduce your subject properly. You may use some notes, but usually I don't let people use notes. I just want them to say whatever they can remember, you know. Remember, the word spontaneous. Also, organize your thoughts. This is another criterion. Have a conclusion. Have a good conclusion, you know, ras malai, the dessert, and use appropriate gestures and posture. Vary your voice, the how. Have appropriate timing. Not like me, I have bored you to death today by my timing is so bad. Speak at an appropriate speed. I think I'm doing fine. Appropriate speed, is it? Yeah, I think I'm doing fine. Speak clearly. I think I'm clear. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I'm trying to apply. Have appropriate word choice. It's very important to select the right words. Speak in complete sentences, not like chopped off. Some people, you know, they have chopped off, not complete sentences. So you lose, and you lose the audience. You lose them right away. Speak with the grammatical accuracy as much as you can. Gain attention of the audience, the appetizer or the icebreaker. Maintain your eye contact. Make audience part of your talk so they feel they get more interested. So instead of just looking at one direction, make sure you include all of them. I hope I'm doing it. So leave audience with a positive impression again, ras malai. You know, remember this. Oral, and there is also, this is now you have oral communication and conversation. These are different criteria for it. So what I showed you for the presentation, but also for the oral, for the conversation, there are criteria almost the same. Not that much, except for certain things. The oral communication, I'm not going to go over this because this is, I think, more than enough. With this, I would like really to stop here and leave it for you. If you want to ask a question, you want to comment, or, of course. Again, this is a workshop, a program. And most importantly, here you have all the material. I wanted to apply it with you, but I felt it's not the right environment for me, because usually we do it in a cafe style, like a restaurant, you know, and there are exhibits. And we really, it's very interesting the way we do it, yeah, alhamdulillah. So I felt, just let me give you at least a much better explaining of it. You are clever enough to pick it up in no time. It's easy, it's not that difficult, you know. I might sound a little bit philosophical sometimes, but at the end of the day, I try as much as possible to simplify it so you get at least the process. And by the way, this is only one process. We have other process also. Okay. With this, I'll stop here. Any question, any comment? Side of the story. But you're nice enough to just craft it in your beautiful mannerism and your lovely noon light that you have, mashallah. Okay, then if there is no question or comment, I'm around. Everything I have here is for sharing. Whatever we do, we share. We are here. This is why I came to Pakistan, to make sure we share this methodology with as many people as possible, as many countries as possible. I was in Africa, I was in Malaysia, Thailand, many places, Bahrain, Qatar, many places, Kuwait. And we try to share this methodology with them. I'm retired, just dedicated myself to this because I feel this is very powerful. And it adds value to universities and colleges, and those in the curriculum, instructors, administrators, and everybody. You've added value to my life. I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your presence here and my presence here. And on the day of judgment, inshallah, this will be calculated for us in the hour scale, inshallah. And what we are to do here, it's not from my strength, it's because we human beings, we have la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So whatever we have from capacities or talents is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if I've said something that is right, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I said something that is wrong, or maybe I said something that might not connect better, it is from my erring self and the whispering of the shaitan. I seek forgiveness for it. I would like really to, again, I'm very happy to be in Pakistan, my second country. Pakistanis are very close to us Saudis and to the Gulf in general. Yeah. By the way, I don't want to say it, the camera is saying, but I will let go of it. I wanted to say something, but Anyway, love you all. Take care, everybody. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. May Allah bless you all.
To present the souvenirs to our honorable guests, I would like to request Mr. Naeem Anwar Faruqi, Project